Ahoy, curious human. From what corner of the Earth or galaxy are you tuning in? A sleepy village? A concrete jungle? Drop it in the comments like it's hot. And hey, toss this video at your friends and family. They might forgive you. Showtime. My name is Adam Finley, and the story I'm about to recount may sound too surreal to be true. It all began with a routine inquiry, just a call to get an insurance quote. But what it uncovered tore through the very foundation of my marriage. The woman I had shared a life with for nearly 10 years turned out to be someone I didn't truly know at all. The day it all unraveled was an unseasonably warm Tuesday in March. I remember it with unnerving precision, every detail etched into my memory, because that was the day the life I thought I was living came apart at the seams. My home office windows were thrown open to welcome the gentle spring air, carrying with it the clean, earthy scent of freshly mowed grass from the neighbor's yard. I was deep in my usual work, numbers, ledgers, tax filings, fully focused on my accounting firm's month-end reports when my phone rang. "Thank you for calling State Farm. This is Jenna. Am I speaking with Adam Finley?" "Speaking," I said, minimizing my spreadsheet and grabbing the notepad beside my keyboard. "Great. I'm following up on the home and auto insurance package you asked about last week. I've got some great options for you, but I just need a few additional pieces of information before finalizing your quote." Renee and I had been tightening our spending lately. After 5 years of marriage, we'd grown more intentional about our finances, paying off law school debt and managing the mortgage on the colonial-style house we'd bought 3 years earlier. Even small savings felt meaningful. They represented progress toward bigger dreams, starting a family, maybe traveling the world, even retiring early if we played it right. "Sure thing," I said, pen in hand. "What do you need from me?" "I'll just need the driver's license numbers for both you and your wife. It helps us run a DMV check to tailor the quote to your actual driving histories." Mine came instantly. I'd committed it to memory long ago. "Give me a second to get hers," I said, leaning back in my chair. I called down the hallway. "Hey, Renee, what's your license number?" "It's in my purse. Check the wallet," she called from the bedroom. "I'm getting ready for book club." Of course, book club. Renee had been devoted to it for 2 years. Every Tuesday and Thursday, like clockwork, she left just before 7 with a novel in hand to meet her group. I'd met 2 of her club friends, Sarah and Linda, at a holiday party once. They were friendly, if a little reserved. Still, it always struck me as odd that Renee never invited them to our place. As I walked barefoot through the hallway, I passed the gallery wall Renee had so carefully arranged. Wedding pictures in antique gold frames, frozen moments from what had once felt like a perfect day. She looked radiant in her lace gown, the kind you buy only once in your life. I was in a rented tux, grinning like a man who believed he'd won the jackpot. We both were. Her purse sat where it always did, beside the espresso machine she'd insisted we buy as a long-term investment in better mornings. I pulled out the leather wallet I'd given her for Christmas 3 years earlier and slid her license from its usual spot behind the clear plastic sleeve. I recited the number to Jenna, who typed swiftly on her end. "Thanks. Just give me a moment while I bring up the records," she said. There was a pause. The tapping on the keyboard continued for several seconds, then stopped abruptly. "Mr. Finley?" Her tone had shifted. The chipper professionalism was gone, replaced by something heavier, cautious. "There's something odd coming up in your wife's file." A quiet dread settled in my gut, that instinctive, irreversible knowing that things were about to change permanently. "What kind of odd?" I asked, trying to sound neutral. "Well," she began, choosing her words with care, "our system is showing 2 active licenses for your wife. Same birthday, same photo, but listed under 2 different names and addresses." I blinked. The pen slipped from my hand and clattered to the floor. "2 licenses? That can't be right. It must be some kind of error." "I really wish it were," she said softly. "But I'm looking at both records. One is registered to Renee Finley, your current address on Maple Grove Lane. The other is for a Renee Brooks, different address, Oak Grove Apartments, Unit 782. Brooks, her maiden name, the name she'd been eager to shed the day we got married. I want to be Renee Finley as soon as possible, she had said, beaming at the DMV. I want everyone to know I'm yours. My mouth suddenly felt dry, like it was packed with cotton. I forced the next words out. When was the other license issued? She clicked a few more keys. It looks like the Brooks license was issued 13 months ago. A beat of silence passed. I need to inform you, she continued, that maintaining 2 current licenses under separate names is technically considered fraudulent. I'll have to report this to my supervisor, but... Could you email me everything? I asked, cutting her off. My voice sounded strangely steady, as if someone else were speaking through me. Inside, though, a cold clarity was setting in. My life, the version I had trusted and loved, had vanished in the space of a single phone call. Tell me whatever you can, anything helps. I need to see this for myself. I can't give you the entire DMV record, that's restricted, but I can summarize the key details so you can confirm what I'm seeing. Do you want me to move forward with the insurance estimate? Not yet. I was already heading back to my office, the cold floor silent under my bare feet. Do you have any other details about that second license? Even something tiny? Jenna hesitated. Just a moment. In that pause, I felt something inside me splinter, like ice cracking under pressure. The Brooks license is listed as the main driver for a registered car, 2018 Honda Civic, silver. My pulse stopped. Renee drove a 2018 Honda Civic, silver. I'd gone to the dealership with her, helped her haggle, signed off on the financing. The title had always been under Renee Finley. Why would it also be under Renee Brooks? Send me whatever you've got, I managed to say, somehow keeping my voice even. I need to go. Mr. Finley, I'm so sorry. I know this is... I hung up. Not out of rudeness, because if I stayed on the line even one more second, I was going to throw up. At my desk, I stared at the glowing monitor. Tax returns blinked back at me, suddenly absurd, meaningless relics from a different life. A life where my biggest headache was finding deductions and hitting quarterly targets. A life where Renee was simply my wife, not whatever this was. 3 minutes later, Jenna's email arrived. My hands trembled as I opened it. There it was, spelled out in black and white. A verification report showing both licenses. 2 different addresses, 2 identical photos. Renee Marie Finley, Renee Marie Brooks. I printed 3 copies, every motion slow and deliberate. 1 went into the locked desk drawer. 1 slid into my briefcase. The last I folded into my pocket. Proof. Mason, an old buddy of mine on the force, had once told me over drinks, document everything. You never know when you'll need a record. Did he know something? Had he seen what I'd missed? Had everyone? Renee appeared in the doorway and I nearly jumped out of my chair. She looked incredible, like always. Her dark hair was curled, party-ready, not the messy ponytail she wore around the house. Jeans that fit her perfectly. That green cashmere sweater that made her hazel eyes burn brighter. Did you get my license number? She asked, adjusting her earring. All set, I said, forcing my face into something that might pass for normal. Big night ahead? We're starting a new James Patterson, she said, rolling her eyes like she always did at Sarah's thriller obsession. You know how Sarah is. She'll have a conspiracy theory mapped out by Chapter 5. James Patterson. I made a mental note. Sounds like fun, I said. Just make sure she doesn't spoil the ending. She laughed. That laugh, once it made me weightless. Now it made my skin crawl. I'll keep her in line, she said. Dylan, wait up, we might grab drinks after. She walked over and kissed me, the same quick kiss I'd felt 1,000 times. But now it felt foreign, like someone wearing my wife's face. Love you, she said as she turned to leave. Love you too, I replied automatically. Reflex from 5 years of marriage. 20 minutes after she drove off, I was on the phone. Ted, I've got a family emergency, I told my boss. I need the rest of the day, maybe tomorrow too. Everything okay, Adam? Renee all right? The question hit like a blade. I'm not sure yet, I said. I'll update you when I know more. I drove downtown like a man possessed, blowing through yellow lights, ignoring speed limits. I needed a printer and scanner not tied to our home network. I needed this off the grid. Paranoid? Maybe. But something deep in my gut screamed, be careful. Dylan, leave a trail she can follow. The office building was nearly empty. A normal Tuesday lull. I locked myself inside and got to work. First, more hard copies of Jenna's report. Then I started digging. Oak Grove Apartments, a modern complex on the far edge of town near the university. The website showed sleek interiors, upscale amenities, pristine landscaping, the kind of place young professionals might live. Or, apparently, the kind of place where someone's wife could keep an entirely separate life. Google Maps estimated the drive at 23 minutes, the exact amount of time it normally took to reach the library where Renee swore her book club met. My phone buzzed against the console. A text notification from her lit up the screen. Meant to mention, if book club runs late, I might grab coffee with the girls after. Dylan, wait up. I stared at the heart emoji she'd added, watching its red bleed into the white background until my vision blurred. How many messages like this had I received over the past 2 years? How many Tuesday and Thursday nights had I sat at home, convinced she was somewhere discussing paperbacks and character arcs with her friends? I typed back quickly. Got it. Enjoy the new Patterson. The typing dots appeared, paused, reappeared. Finally, thanks, babe. Love you. Those last 2 words, love you, felt like a knife twisting beneath my ribs. How could she write them so easily while living a life I barely recognized? Was it automatic, a guilty reflex, or something calculated, part of keeping up the illusion? I sat motionless at my desk, paralyzed by the weight of not knowing. What was I supposed to do now? March straight to her face with my suspicions? Pay someone to track her movements? Pretend ignorance until I had undeniable proof? In the end, I decided on a course of action. First, home. Then, Oak Grove Apartments. Before anything else, I needed to see what I was actually dealing with. The drive back felt unreal, like coasting through a neighborhood built for a movie set. Every street looked familiar, but carried an eerie sense of being slightly off. I pulled into our driveway and sat there for a long moment, engine idling, staring at the house we shared. The flower beds she'd fussed over last spring were budding again. The seasonal wreath still hung on the door, same as it had for weeks. Everything looked perfectly ordinary. Inside, I turned into an intruder in my own home, rifling through spaces I knew better than my own reflection. I started in the bedroom, guilt chewing at me as I opened drawers and lifted lids. Her jewelry box, nothing unusual. The nightstand, just hair ties, lotion, and the reading glasses she only wore when her contacts bothered her. Then I found the gym bag. It was shoved behind her winter boots, half hidden in the farthest corner of the closet. A faded Nike duffel, purple and black. Nothing remarkable at first glance. Inside, leggings, a tank top, water bottle, iPod. Renee might have been the last person alive still using one. Toiletries. But buried at the bottom, wrapped in an old Ramones t-shirt she'd stolen from me years back, was a small ring of keys. My heart clenched as I studied them. Our house key, recognizable by the scratch we'd made painting the front door last year. Her car key, Honda fob attached. A miniature key clearly meant for Planet Fitness lockers. And 2 unfamiliar keys, unlabeled, unmarked. One looked like it could fit an apartment lock. The other, smaller, could be for a mailbox. I snapped multiple photos from every angle, then carefully rewrapped the bundle in the t-shirt and replaced everything exactly as I'd found it. My hands trembled so badly I almost dropped the bag twice. Back in the car, I called Mason. "Hey man, what's up?" His voice was casual, cheerful, oblivious. "I need your take on something. Strictly legal, hypothetical." "Uh-oh." His tone shifted instantly. "What kind of hypothetical are we talking about? If someone had 2 legit driver's licenses, real ones but under different names, would that count as fraud?" A pause. Then, "Adam, what's happening? And don't say hypothetical. Just answer me, please." He exhaled audibly. "Yeah, that's fraud. Technically document fraud. Could even qualify as identity theft depending how they got them. Class D felony." "Thanks." I ended the call before he could press further. The drive to Oak Grove Apartments took exactly 23 minutes, just like Google had said. The place looked even nicer than I'd expected. Manicured lawns, a fountain near the entrance, almost certainly a gym and pool somewhere inside the gates. The first obstacle was the security gate itself. Residents either keyed in a code or used a remote. I waited, engine humming, until a FedEx truck rolled up. The driver entered a code, 2580, a generic delivery code I'd seen used at complexes like this before. As the gate swung open, I slipped in behind the truck. Building 4 sat tucked into the far corner, 3 stories of beige siding, every unit boasting a tiny balcony. I parked where I had an unobstructed view of Unit 782, second floor, end unit. Its blinds were shut tight. 2 potted plants stood sentinel on the balcony. The plants thrived, vibrant and carefully pruned, unmistakable evidence that someone looked after them. I lingered in my spot for 30 minutes, silent, just watching. Neighbors drifted past on the walkway, entering and leaving adjacent apartments, yet Unit 782 stayed eerily inert. The curtains remained perfectly still. The windows reflected nothing but the empty sky. No silhouettes, no movement, no life. Patience wore thin. The keys in my pocket felt impossibly heavy as I ascended the stairwell. Each step rang out too loudly, a hollow clang reverberating against the faded concrete walls. The air was thick with the mingling odors of frying onions and harsh industrial carpet cleaner. The scent every building like this seemed cursed to share. I paused outside 782's door, ear pressed to the frame. No hum of television, no muffled music, not even the creak of floorboards, nothing. I knocked, 3 firm raps. Waited. Knocked again. Silence. The unmarked key trembled between my fingers. This was the threshold. Once crossed, nothing could be undone. The instant I turned that lock, ignorance would vanish forever. There would be no retreat to the version of myself who, just hours earlier, was mostly irritated about renewing car insurance. The key slid in with effortless precision, smoother than the sticky lock on my own front door. The sight that greeted me struck like lightning, beauty, unexpected, flawless beauty. Polished hardwood floors gleamed under soft light. Minimalist furniture, modern yet inviting. Art hung with deliberate taste, each frame chosen with care. It wasn't a temporary hideout. It was a home, a life. On the entry table rested a neat stack of unopened mail, beside a decorative bowl intended for keys. By the door, perfectly lined shoes. Women's, size 7, Renee's size. But there were men's shoes too. Running trainers, shined dress shoes, work boots scuffed from use. Large sizes, 11s, maybe 12s. Definitely not mine. Then the living room stopped me cold. A brown leather sectional angled toward a wall-mounted flat screen. Matching end tables, ceramic lamps that spoke of quiet wealth. But it was the photographs that broke me. Dozens of frames, identical styles, arranged with surgical precision, the same way Renee had displayed our wedding pictures. There she was, laughing at a shoreline I'd never seen, waves crashing behind her, pulling faces on a mountain trail I didn't recognize, smiling across a dinner table, red dress draped over her shoulders, the same one she wore to a company Christmas party I hadn't been invited to. And in every single photograph, him, tall, athletic, dark hair kissed with gray, handsome without effort, the kind of man who doesn't need to try. Always smiling like he'd stumbled into a dream he never wanted to wake from. Always looking at her like she was the only thing in the room. The kitchen hit harder than a punch. Copper pots dangled from an overhead rack, the very ones Renee once begged me to buy, the ones I'd called too expensive. 2 coffee cups in the sink, one rim marked faintly with lipstick. The refrigerator plastered with magnets from cities I'd never been to, pinning menus, appointment reminders, and a calendar. The calendar. Her so-called book club nights were marked with tiny heart stickers. Red on Tuesdays, pink on Thursdays. Other notes were cryptic. Dee's presentation, dinner with mom and dad, anniversary. Anniversary. They had an anniversary. The master bedroom nearly brought me to my knees. A king-sized bed draped in navy sheets. Renee had begged for navy. I'd insisted on gray. Elegant matching nightstands flanked either side. On hers, the reading glasses she once swore she'd lost after I noticed her squinting at texts. On his, a man's watch and a leather wallet. The closet was a monument to betrayal. Left side, her clothes. Right side, his. Organized, immaculate. I recognized some pieces: the green dress she wore to her cousin's wedding, the sharp blazer she saved for client meetings, the shoes she bragged about finding on a girl's day out. How many mornings had she stood here, choosing outfits for him, not me? How many kisses goodbye were followed by drives to this place, to slip into something he loved? The bathroom was worse. 2 toothbrushes resting in a ridiculous cat-shaped holder. 2 towels hung neatly side by side. 2 bathrobes. Her luxury shampoo, the kind she claimed we couldn't afford, sharing shelf space with his Old Spice. Eventually, I drifted into the second bedroom, converted into an immaculate office. 2 desks faced each other from opposite sides of the room. His was chaotic, a mountain of engineering guides, technical schematics, and precise drafting tools spilling over the edges. Some kind of architect? Or maybe an industrial designer? The walls behind him were lined with plaques celebrating breakthroughs in sustainable building methods. Framed diplomas from prestigious universities hung neatly beside them. This wasn't the setup of a hobbyist or a fraud. This was the workspace of someone accomplished, respected. Her desk was the opposite, tidy, deliberate. Neatly stacked yellow legal pads, every page covered in that flowing cursive I used to memorize. The same handwriting that once left me breathless in law school when her notes appeared on my desk. Organized folders brimming with legal briefs and contracts, real ones by the look of them. Was she actually practicing again? Scattered between the paperwork were framed photos, small, personal moments frozen in time. Then I saw it. A silver frame perched on the corner of her desk. The same style we'd used in our old house. Inside, a wedding photograph. But not ours. In this one, Renee stood barefoot on a beach, dressed in a simple white sundress, no trace of the elaborate gown she'd worn when she married me. A delicate crown of wildflowers replaced her veil. Next to her stood a man, Dylan, if the calendar I'd glimpsed earlier was accurate. Khakis, open white shirt, no tie, no jacket. The 2 of them looked incandescently happy, radiant. My legs gave out. I hit the floor hard, eyes locked on the photo. When? When had this happened? We had 7 years together, 5 married, 2 dating before that. How could she possibly be married to someone else? A sudden sound jolted me. From the living room. Footsteps? A key in the lock? No. Just the refrigerator's ice maker dumping a fresh load into the tray. The low hum of a house still alive, still lived in. I forced myself to keep going, to see everything. Mason would need proof, every detail, when this came out, if it ever did. I opened drawers. A lease agreement. Renee Brooks and Dylan Brooks, married. The move-in date? 2 years and 3 months ago. 6 months after she'd joined that book club. Bank records from a joint account. R&D Brooks. Steady deposits, predictable bills. A life fully shared, fully built. Utilities, insurance, cable statements. And then the letters. Tied with a ribbon, like something from another century. My hands shook as I untied one. In careful masculine handwriting. My darling wife, happy anniversary. 2 years of marriage and an entire lifetime still ahead of us. Every day with you feels like discovery. Every night falling asleep beside you feels like coming home. Thank you for choosing me, for building this life with me, for being my light in every darkness. Always and forever, Dylan. 2 years. They'd been married for 2 years. I photographed everything. The lease, the bank statements, the letters, every artifact of this secret life I'd never known existed. On the way out, I scooped up the pile of mail by the door. Bills, magazines, dental reminders, all addressed to Mr. and Mrs. Dylan Brooks, a thick envelope from the county clerk's office. Vital records, marriage certificates. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. The weight of it told me everything. Outside, I made it 3 steps before doubling over the railing and retching into the bushes. Back in my car, I sat motionless. Engine off. 20 minutes, maybe more. Just breathing, trying to comprehend. She hadn't cheated. That would have been simpler, somehow. This was something else entirely. My phone rang. Renee's face lit up the screen. An old photo of us at last year's company picnic, smiling like fools. I let it ring out. She called again immediately. This time I answered. Hey, babe, she said brightly. Book club's running late. Sarah's on one of her rants again, you know how she gets. Probably another hour, maybe two. My voice, when it came, sounded steady, normal. How was that even possible? No problem, I said. You sure you're okay? She asked. You sound off. Drained. The quarterly reports had wrung me out completely. Oh, you poor thing, she crooned softly. I'll make it up to you when I get home, okay? She added, almost playfully. Maybe that thing you're so fond of? The implication behind her words made my stomach twist. Can't wait. The lie came as smooth as breathing. Was this what it felt like for her? To lie so easily? Love you. Love you too. I let the car guide me home while my mind spun in endless circles, hands on the wheel like muscle memory. At a red light, I did something I'd never done before. I called information, asked for an emergency locksmith. What's the emergency, sir? I just found out my wife's got another family. I need every lock changed, immediately. A pause, then, we'll send someone over. How fast? Half an hour. Make it 20 minutes and I'll pay double. Done, he'll be there in 20. While waiting, I moved through the house like a machine. No hesitation, no emotion. I dragged out the old moving boxes, gathering dust in the garage. Started in the bedroom. Her clothes first, neatly folded, stacked. Even in fury, I couldn't bring myself to destroy her belongings. That would make me like her. Her jewelry box, the college photos, every love letter I'd written during law school. Into the boxes they went. Even the teddy bear from our third date at the fair. 5 years of shared life, packed up like inventory in a warehouse. In the closet, I stumbled upon our wedding album. Paused at a photo, her mid-vow, tears streaming down her face. I promised to stay faithful, she had said, to love only you for the rest of my life. That photo went in a box, too. The locksmith arrived 2 minutes ahead of schedule. Gray-haired, brisk, and professional, he took one look at me and got to work in silence. As he changed the locks, I kept packing. The bathroom, her desk in the office, the kitchen appliances she insisted we buy. How many locks are we replacing? He finally asked. All of them, front, back, garage, side door, both gates. He let out a low whistle. Bad night? My wife's been living a double life, another husband, years of lies. He froze, tools in hand. 30 years in this job and I've heard plenty, but another husband, that's a first. Yeah, first for me too. You planning to press charges? I haven't decided. That wasn't true. The moment I saw that photo of her in the dress, I knew. Renee was going to face consequences. Legal ones. He finished in 45 minutes, efficient and quiet. Handed me a ring of brand new keys. These are the only copies, he said. Need extras? Not yet. You gonna be all right? Eventually. He patted my shoulder once and left. I carried the boxes outside, stacking them on the lawn under the fading light. 15 boxes. Her entire life reduced to cardboard, waiting for her return. Inside, I poured myself 3 fingers of scotch. Sat in the recliner facing the front door. The wedding album rested on my lap, opened at random. There we were, laughing, her smashing cake into my face. 300 people cheering, celebrating us. How many of them knew? Her sister? Her parents? The bridesmaids who toasted to forever? Or had they been fooled too? At 9:47 p.m., my phone buzzed. Heading home. Sarah says hi. Sarah. Was Sarah even real? Or code for Dylan? Had I ever truly met her? Or had some stand-in played her role at the Christmas party? I stared at the photo of the lease on my phone, Renee's signature beside Dylan Michael Brooks. Was that even his real name? Or another layer of lies? Did it matter anymore? At 10:23, I heard her car pull into the driveway. The engine cut off. The familiar slam of her door followed. Her heels clicked up the walkway, every step distinct, deliberate. A key slid into the lock, turned, stuck. Again, metal scraping metal. What the hell? She muttered. Her voice came muffled through the door, tinged with confusion. More rattling than knocking. Adam, honey, the key isn't working. I took another drink of scotch. The album had fallen open to Our First Dance, At Last by Etta James playing in the background. Her mother had cried that night. Adam, are you there? Something's wrong with the lock. Her ringtone sliced through the stillness of the house. She would have seen my name flashing on her screen. I hung up before she could answer. Footsteps circled toward the back of the property. I didn't need to see her to know where she was. Gravel crunching underfoot, the squeal of the side gate, the rattle of a stubborn back door lock. A sharp mutter. The key failed. She tried the garage next, louder rattling, harsher curses. "Adam!" she yelled into the night. Seconds later, fists pounded on the front door hard enough to shake it in its frame. "Open the door, what's going on?" My phone buzzed in my hand, one text after another. "What's happening? Why won't the key work? Are you home? This isn't funny, Adam. Say something. Adam, please. Did you change the locks?" I opened my photos, found the image of our lease agreement, both names printed side by side, Renee Brooks and Dylan Brooks, husband and wife. Beneath it, I typed my message. "Let your other husband handle things now. Locks are changed. Your belongings are outside. Send." Silence. 10 seconds, maybe more. Then came the scream, raw, feral, cutting through the street. "Adam, open the door, I can explain." I finished the last of my scotch and listened. She'd found the boxes. Tape tearing, cardboard flaps ripping, sobs breaking between breaths. "You can't do this, I live here too, this is my house." I crept toward the window, staying hidden in the shadows. From there, I could see her kneeling in the grass, clawing through heaps of clothes. The outfit she'd worn to book club, a neat, curated little thing, was now rumpled and smeared with dirt. Her carefully styled hair had collapsed into tangles. Black mascara streaked downward across pale cheeks. "Please," she whispered, scanning the windows for me. "Let me explain, it's not what you think." Not what I think? Was this slapstick? An accidental twin sister? Cosmic coincidence? I sent another text. "Texting from your place, using your keys, with your other husband." Her phone lit up her face as she read. The shift in her expression, shock, then fear, then understanding, almost made it worth the hell. "How did you— Adam, we have to talk." "Try Dylan," I replied. "You seem to have plenty to discuss with him." "I never wanted this to happen." "You never wanted to commit bigamy?" "It was a mistake." A mistake. As in, oops, accidentally walked down the aisle again. Oops, signed another marriage certificate. Oops, hid 2 husbands for 2 years. Headlights swept across the lawn. A pickup truck rolled to a stop behind her car. The driver stepped out, tall, athletic, dark hair streaked with gray. Dylan Brooks in the flesh. He froze, taking in the chaos, the boxes, the clothes, Renee sobbing in the grass. "Babe, what the hell is going on?" "Babe," he called my wife Babe. I couldn't help it. I unlatched the front window and shoved it open. "Perfect timing," I said. "Dylan, right? The other husband. Nice to meet you." His brow furrowed, confusion plain on his face. Who are you? What is this?" Renee clung to his arm. "Dylan, just get in the truck. We need to leave." "Adam Finley," I cut in. "Husband number 1, married 5 years, together 7. And you are?" Dylan's face drained of color. He looked from me to Renee, back to me. That's impossible. She told me her ex—" I laughed. It came out sharp, ugly. "Check her purse, Dylan. The wallet, the IDs. Go on." "No, Dylan, please." She grabbed his sleeve. "Let's just go." But he was already digging into her bag, pulled out the wallet. "Renee Finley," he read aloud, voice flat. "That's me," I said. "Your wife uses Brooks with you. With me, she's still Finley. 2 names, 1 woman. Quite the trick." Dylan stumbled back like I'd hit him. "You're still married to someone else?" "Dylan, I can explain." "Explain?" His shout tore the night open. The wallet hit the asphalt with a sharp crack, echoing in the still night. "Want to explain why you're legally bound to another man? Or maybe tell me why everything we've built together has been one long lie?" Porch lights flickered on, one after the other, as sleepy neighbors peeked out their doors. The quiet block was slowly rousing from its midnight calm. Mr. Henderson from next door wandered out, apparently deciding that 11 p.m. was the perfect time to check his mailbox. Across the street, Mrs. Chen shuffled by in a faded bathrobe, her terrier tugging at its leash, both of them gawking at the unfolding chaos. "Hey, Dylan!" I called out, loud enough for the gathering audience. "Quick question. Does she still claim to have book club on Tuesdays and Thursdays?" He froze mid-step. What about her pottery class? Exactly, I snapped. No book club, no pottery, just alternating husbands like she's running some kind of domestic timeshare program. This is insane, Dylan shouted, clawing at his hair as he paced frantic circles. We lived together. We built a whole life. His voice cracked with disbelief. We're married. About that, I lifted my phone and tapped the screen, revealing the photo I'd taken of their wedding portrait. Great venue, oceanfront ceremony, very tasteful. What was that? June 15th? 2 years ago? He nodded slowly. Funny, I said, my eyes narrowing. Because by that date, she'd already been married to me for 3 years, which means your wedding? Yeah, it doesn't count. Dylan's voice dropped to a hollow whisper, like the air had left him. So, it's not valid? Bingo. I didn't blink. You're not the husband. You're the backup plan, the bonus round, the upgrade with better views. Renee sobbed harder, her shoulders shaking violently. I love you both, she gasped between tears. Love? Dylan and I barked in unison, whipping toward each other, briefly united in outrage. You don't lie to people you love, Dylan spat. You don't marry someone while you're already married to someone else. Then his face twisted with a sudden, sick realization. Your parents, do they know? Renee's silence was answer enough. They knew, Dylan said, voice trembling. They came to our wedding, smiling for photos, watching your dad walk you down the aisle, all while knowing you were already someone else's wife. I stepped forward. Check her licenses. Dylan blinked at me. What? She's got 2. One says Finley, one says Brooks. His stare at her was pure disbelief. That's not just betrayal, I added. That's fraud. And bigamy. Dylan fumbled for his phone, scrolling like a man possessed. Our lease, our joint bank accounts, everything has both our names. Invalid, I said flatly. She was already Mrs. Finley when she signed as Mrs. Brooks. Congratulations. You've been dragged into federal crimes you didn't even know existed. Somewhere nearby, faint sirens began to wail, growing steadily louder. Someone had already dialed 911, probably Henderson. He lived for this kind of spectacle. 2 squad cars screeched to a stop, red and blue lights slicing through the darkness. 4 officers stepped out, hands hovering near their holsters, scanning the chaos before them. What's happening here? One of them demanded. I stepped forward onto the porch, hands raised to show they were empty. Officers, my name's Adam Finley. I own this house. What you're looking at is bigamy, with a side of fraud. Sir, stay right there, ordered the lead officer, a female sergeant radiating authority. That woman, I said, pointing at Renee, now surrounded by half-packed bags and scattered boxes, is my wife. She's also his wife. I jerked my chin toward Dylan. I've got the evidence. The sergeant's gaze flicked between us, Renee sobbing uncontrollably, Dylan pacing like he was about to combust, and me, likely looking like a lunatic holding receipts. Ma'am, she asked Renee, can you tell me what's going on here? Renee tried to speak, but the sobs strangled her words. She's been married to both of us, I told the officer calmly, lifting my phone again. I've got photos of both wedding certificates, both of her IDs, and the lease agreement she signed with him. She's been living 2 lives for over 2 years. The sergeant handed me her card. Email everything to me. Then she turned back to Renee. Ma'am, I need a straight answer. Are you legally married to both men? Renee's breath hitched. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. For one heavy moment, the only sound was the low crackle of police radios and the distant hum of late-night traffic. A whisper barely carried through the room. Yes. The silence cracked. That's a confession, one officer said flatly. Bigamy, another clarified. Class C felony here. Dylan exploded. Arrest her! She's a criminal! She wrecked my entire life. Sir, calm down, the officer instructed. Calm? Dylan barked. I just found out my wife has another husband. Our marriage, fake, all of it. 2 years gone, he spat. Try 5, I muttered. 7, if you count the dating, he shot back. Our eyes locked across the chaos. 2 strangers, suddenly bound by the same devastation. The sergeant spoke into his radio. Requesting backup, multiple units. We've got a criminal case. Renee finally broke her silence, voice quivering. Am I being arrested? Not yet, the officer replied evenly. But you'll need to come with us for questioning. Call a lawyer. They separated us. 3 different patrol cars. I was in one. Dylan in another. Renee alone in the last. As we drove away, I caught sight of Mrs. Chen on her porch, phone up, snapping photos. By morning, the neighborhood Facebook page would be wildfire. The station was cold and fluorescent. Buzzing lights, plastic chairs, endless paperwork. They questioned us one by one. I gave them everything. Photos, documents, timelines. I told the story start to finish. The insurance call. The duplicate marriage licenses. The extra set of keys. The apartment. How long were you married? A detective asked. 5 years, I said automatically. Then paused, let it sink in. Book clubs twice a week. Weekend work trips. Late nights at the office. I'd trusted her completely, never doubted. Exactly, the detective murmured, jotting notes. 3 hours of interrogation. Same questions over and over, rearranged, repeated. I mapped out our history, how we met, moved in, got married, every milestone. When they finally released me, dawn was bleeding into the sky. Dylan leaned against his truck outside, hollow-eyed. Coffee? I asked. He gave a bitter laugh. Yeah, why not? We found a 24-hour diner off Route 9. The coffee was burnt. The pie looked week-old. 2 strangers orbiting the same lie. How did she even pull it off? Dylan asked, stirring his mug. Tuesday and Thursday were mine, I said. She claimed pottery class. His jaw tightened. I bought her a pottery wheel last Christmas. It's collecting dust in our guest room. For me, it was Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I said. Book club, girls' nights. And weekends? Work travel, legal seminars, total fiction. She told me she was visiting her sick mom in Columbus, Dylan muttered. Piece by piece, we reconstructed her double life. Her business trips, her phantom mother, the missed birthdays, the split holidays. A tapestry of lies, seamless and cruel. She made me her grandmother's lasagna Tuesday night, Dylan said softly. Swore I was the only man she'd ever trusted with the recipe. She served me that same lasagna Monday, I replied. I shook my head. How is this even possible? My family's in Seattle, I said. We always spent Christmas there. She told me her family came to us, Dylan said. We never traveled. Of course, it all fit. She'd planned every detail. The waitress refilled our cups, glancing at us. 2 wrecked men, same clothes from yesterday, unraveling a shared nightmare. What happens now? Dylan asked quietly. Now, I said, she faces charges, real ones. Good, he muttered. And us? We figure out how to keep living. He stared into his coffee. And how do you even start that? How do you relearn how to trust someone? I honestly had no answer. The morning sun slashed through the diner's grimy glass, harsh and unkind. My phone screen glared back at me. 37 missed calls from strangers. The secret was no longer a secret. I should call my lawyer, I muttered. I have to figure out how to get this marriage erased. Erased? Dylan repeated, eyes wide in disbelief. It wasn't real, I said. She hid something massive from me. That's grounds for annulment. She lied to you, Dylan murmured. That tracks. And what about me? His voice cracked. Yours wasn't legal from the start, I told him. You can't marry someone who's already married. Dylan's hands covered his face. 2 years, he whispered. I gave her 2 years of my life. And now it feels like none of it was real. It happened, I said softly. Just not the way you thought it did. Suddenly his head snapped up, panic in his eyes. My parents, he breathed. They adored her. My mom calls her the daughter she never had. That's going to be a brutal conversation, I admitted. What about her parents? I asked. They had to know. They were at both ceremonies. Both? Dylan blinked hard. How do you watch your kid marry someone else when she's already got a husband? My phone buzzed again. Mason. Adam, what the hell is happening? He shouted the second I answered. The district attorney's office called me. They said you're wrapped up in some bigamy case. Renee, I said flatly. She had 2 husbands, 2 different lives, 2 names, 2 homes. Silence. I'm on my way, Mason said finally. Didn't sign anything. Didn't agree to anything. I'll be there in an hour. The days that followed blurred together. Renee's parents bailed her out with 50 grand and brought in a top criminal defense lawyer. He spun a narrative fast. Mental health struggles, unacknowledged disorders, a woman split by conflicting loves. The press ate it up. They branded her the timeshare wife. Our quiet street turned into a media frenzy. Reporters swarmed the sidewalks, desperate for quotes about the woman with 2 husbands. Mr. Henderson needed no prompting. He gave 3 interviews in a single day, each one more dramatic than the last. Renee tried reaching me anyway, calling from her parents' house, from burner phones, even using her sister's number. I blocked them all. Her lawyer sent letters. I returned them unopened. Once she even appeared at my office. Security escorted her out as my co-workers peered through the blinds. Mason handled the legal wreckage. The annulment went through quickly. Bigamy leaves little room for argument. The house stayed with me. I'd bought it long before we married. Joint accounts were frozen until the criminal case wrapped up. Dylan and I started meeting often. Strangely enough, we understood each other better than anyone else could. We'd sit in that same greasy booth trying to untangle the maze she left behind. She told me she was allergic to shellfish, Dylan said one night, carried an EpiPen everywhere. She ate lobster with me every anniversary, I replied. She swore she couldn't have kids, said it was a medical condition. We were trying, Dylan whispered. She was taking fertility meds. Every new detail revealed another lie. Every contradiction drove the knife a little deeper. We'd fallen for someone who never truly existed. The trial was set for 6 months later. Renee's attorney tried bargaining for a plea deal. The prosecutor refused. This wasn't a fleeting mistake. It was calculated, long-term, an entire performance spanning years. I had to testify. So did Dylan. So did the insurance investigator who exposed it all. Out of all the possible triggers, it was Jenna from State Farm, oddly enough, who set everything in motion. She unearthed what no one else had noticed, setting off a domino effect that ended with Renee's parents stepping forward to support her. They testified that she was mentally unwell, showing signs of dissociation, and that in her heart, she truly believed it was possible to love 2 people at once. They swore she had no malicious intent, but the prosecution dismantled their claims with precision. They brought out email exchanges where Renee openly discussed juggling dual lives. Her bank activity was split between her 2 personas, with remarkable detail. Then came the 2 separate driver's licenses, the duplicate marriage licenses, separate leases on apartments. This wasn't the result of a fractured psyche, the prosecutor said in their closing remarks. This was calculated, deliberate, deceptive. She knew exactly what she was doing, they insisted. She just thought she'd never get caught. It took the jury only 3 hours to come back with a unanimous verdict. Guilty across the board. Bigamy, fraud, forgery. Renee crumpled to the floor when the judgment was spoken. Her parents broke down sobbing. Her sister screamed at the jury and had to be escorted out by security. 2 weeks later, she was sentenced. The judge was firm, offering no reduction. 13 months in a state correctional facility, 3 years of supervised release after that, and a felony conviction that would follow her forever. She was shackled and led from the courtroom. Her designer wardrobe replaced by an orange prison uniform, ironically funded by income from both of her marriages. Her family had spent a fortune on a high-profile lawyer, but even elite legal defense couldn't prevent incarceration. Dylan and I attended every day of the trial. After the final hearing, we went back to our usual spot, a quiet roadside diner. Feel any different? He asked me. No, you? Not really, he admitted, but maybe this is what justice looks like. Is it though? I asked. 18 months for 7 years of deceit? Better than nothing. We sat in silence. The place was nearly empty. A couple truckers nursed coffee at the counter. I'm putting the place on the market, Dylan said abruptly. I can't live there anymore. Everything's tainted. I tried changing mine. New paint, new furniture. It helped a little. Did it really? Not enough? My phone lit up with a message from an unknown number. Renee's sister. She says Renee is sorry, that she truly loved both of you. I passed the phone to Dylan. He typed out a message without hesitation. Love doesn't deceive. Love doesn't manipulate. Love doesn't break the law. He sent it before I could say anything. Too harsh? He asked. No, it was fair. A year slipped by. Renee quietly served her time. Mason, who still had connections, told us she kept to herself. Took part in programs. Worked in the prison library. Cataloging books. Probably using names from the imaginary authors she'd created while living her double existence. I started dating again. Cautiously, slowly. The first woman I met, I did a background check before our second date. Came up clean. I told her by our third date. I looked you up too, she confessed. Saw the bigamy case. Read all about your ex-wife. Can't blame you for being cautious, I said. Doesn't scare you off? That someone lied to you? No, she replied. That you're being careful now? Totally reasonable. We dated for 6 months. Split amicably. She wasn't ready to deal with my trust issues. And I wasn't ready to let them go. Dylan, on the other hand, he met someone through his firm. Told her the entire story on their first date. She thought I was making it up. He told me over drinks one night. I had to pull up news articles before she believed me. And she still wanted to see you again? She said anyone who survived something like that and stayed standing was worth getting to know. She sounds incredible. She is. We're getting married this June. He paused. For real this time, one wife, one name. Congrats. Would you come? He asked. To your wedding? You're the only person who truly understands, the only one who knows why I'll be checking the marriage license over and over again. I said yes. The wedding was intimate, held in his parents' backyard just outside Seattle. His bride was wonderful, warm, witty, completely smitten with him. During the ceremony, she cracked a line in her vows about being his one and only legitimate wife. The whole crowd laughed. Across the garden, Dylan and I locked eyes. We smiled. Renee was released after serving 14 months. Early parole for good behavior. She moved back in with her parents. She ended up behind the counter of a retail fashion store, folding clothes instead of practicing law. The Bar Association had suspended her license pending an inquiry. She chose to live quietly, out of sight, unnoticed. In the 2 years since everything had unraveled, I'd seen her exactly once, a chance meeting oddly enough, at a grocery store. I'd been gathering supplies for a classic bachelor evening, a frozen pizza and a 6-pack of beer, when I spotted her in the produce aisle, carefully examining avocados. She noticed me first, visibly tensing up at the sight. I could have turned away, abandoning my cart and slipping quietly out the door. But instead, I approached her directly. Adam, she said, her voice softer and more hesitant than I'd recalled. Renee, I responded. Time had left its subtle mark on her. Thin lines had formed around her eyes, and her once meticulously highlighted hair was now shorter and darker. She was dressed plainly, without the expensive labels she'd once favored. How have you been? She asked, immediately grimacing at the awkward simplicity of the question. Fine enough, I said. You? I'm in therapy, intensive therapy. Trying to understand it all? I suppose, maybe, it's complicated. It always was with you, I replied sharply. She recoiled slightly, visibly hurt. I know you hate me. I don't. Now I feel nothing toward you at all. You're simply someone from the past, someone I once believed in. It was real, she insisted softly. Everything I felt was genuine. I really did love Dylan. I raised my hand, stopping her. Dylan claim you loved me. You don't hurt people you love that way. You're right, she said quietly, eyes downcast. I'm genuinely sorry. Fine. That's it? She said, astonished. Just fine? You said you're sorry. It doesn't repair anything, but fine. I turned to walk away. Adam? She called out gently. Dylan, is he doing okay? He's married now, for real this time. To just one person? She asked with a faint smile. Hard to believe, isn't it? I replied dryly, then left her there, standing silently amid her remorse and the ripening avocados. Last month we finally sold the house. Memories lingered too stubbornly, resistant even to new furniture and fresh paint. I moved downtown into a modern condo, close to work and distant from old ghosts. A fresh start in a place Renee had never been. While packing, I stumbled upon an old set of keys, her apartment keys, the keys to where it all began. Instead of throwing them away, I had them framed, along with the fake ID and the insurance paperwork that had shattered everything. Now they hang in my office, displayed behind glass. When visitors notice the shadow box, they inevitably inquire about its story. I tell them and watch their expressions shift from confusion to shock. "That's insane," they always exclaim. "No," I correct them. "That's bigamy." It's a stark reminder to verify everything. Reagan's old saying had it right. Trust, but verify. "You really ran background checks on your girlfriend?" someone always asks. "I've done 3 so far, none of them objected." "Don't you think that's paranoid?" "Is it paranoid if it's already happened to you once?" Recently, Dylan sent a photo of his newborn daughter, a beautiful child with the same dark hair as his. "First child with my only wife," he proudly captioned. I responded with a simple, "Congrats." Then added playfully, "Make sure there's just one birth certificate." "Already checked," he shot back. "Trust but verify, right?" Exactly. Life moves forward, and gradually the pain fades, edges smoothed over like broken glass worn down by the waves. Trust is rebuilt carefully, step by careful step, always backed by proof. The story becomes less urgent, told less frequently, retreating slowly from everyday thoughts. The woman who once bore my last name now serves as a cautionary tale, a lesson archived in memory, a warning to others. Still, on quiet evenings, my thoughts drift. How many others are out there leading double lives? How many Rachels exist, juggling multiple identities, waiting for one careless slip, a misplaced document or stray insurance statement to reveal everything? I've even coined a name for it now, the Finley Brooks method. I introduce it to friends when their relationships become serious, long-term prospects. I always urge them, perform a Finley Brooks check. It might save you from losing everything. Always verify the driver's license twice. Examine any unusual keys carefully. Keep track of their schedule without fail. And no matter what, meet those book club acquaintances face to face. They laughed when I warned them, thinking I was overreacting. But I wasn't. Being cautious isn't about paranoia. It's about safeguarding yourself, whether in love, everyday life, or anything else. Because out there, someone else is living a lie just like mine. Another Renee, another Dylan, another version of myself comfortable and unaware until one seemingly innocent phone call turned everything upside down. Those keys still hang on the hook in my office. Every so often, I catch myself staring at them, recalling that Tuesday. It began like any other day, coffee, emails, and then a call from Jenna at State Farm offering a bundled insurance discount. So routine, until it shattered my entire world. That single day changed everything. I thought I truly knew the woman I married. In reality, I only knew a fraction. But in the end, I kept the house. I walked away. I reclaimed my freedom and gained a story so unbelievable, it sounds like fiction until you see the news headlines. And Dylan? He found a real marriage, a daughter with her mother's eyes, and the peace of mind that his wife isn't living a double life. He got stability. I got the truth. We both found closure, though mine came handcuffed and clad in an orange jumpsuit. Call it the Finley Brooks rule. Verify everything. Never accept love at face value. Dylan, assume exclusivity without proof. If you find keys that aren't yours, follow where they lead. The truth they reveal might destroy your world, but at least it's genuine. Because lies don't just unravel your life. They eat away at your soul. So I choose truth, always, even when it hurts the most. Especially then. That's what real love requires. Honesty, no matter how harsh. Not comforting lies disguised as kindness. And that's the full story. How I exposed my wife's secret, ensured justice was done, and rebuilt my life. Learn from me, trust, but always verify.